The first one is this, that Jesus had followers to tell his story through words and change lives. Jesus wasn't a loner. He had his disciples. He had a following of hundreds of people. They witnessed everything he did. They wrote it down. They told it to people all around him. There's no mystery to it. As a matter of fact, there really aren't any eyewitnesses that have ever come forward to oppose the story. The next one that's important to realize is that Jesus claimed to be God. Now, I point out verse 5 and 6 there, where Jesus faces the Roman officials and the Jewish officials, and he says, I am he. He uses the words I am, which to the Jews they would know as what they use for the name of God. He had said it before to them. He said, before Abraham was, I am. This is why they fell to the ground. Something the world likes to do is tell us that Jesus never really claimed to be God. Don't believe it. It's here in the story. Why did they crucify him? Because he claimed to be the Son of God. What got Pilate all nervous? He claimed to be the Son of God. What did the Roman centurion say in the Mark account after Jesus died? Surely he was the Son of God. He claimed it. He said it. That's a fact. The next one is that Jesus fulfilled words that he had spoken about himself. We heard him in John 17. He prayed, Father, I've lost none of these that you have given me, speaking of his disciples. And here it's fulfilled because he releases them at the time of his arrest and they escape. Another one was his over and over in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, the Son of Man will be lifted up. And he had known that he would be crucified and not killed by stoning. The next one there from verse 11, when Jesus tells Peter to put away his sword because of the mission the Father had given him had to be accomplished. Jesus believed that he was accomplishing something. This is why on the cross when he died, he said, it is finished. He had a mission. None of this in this entire account is apart from Jesus' willful decisions. He didn't run from the army of 600 men that came out to get him. He didn't fight back. He knew they were coming, the scripture tells us. He went through his trial, his arrest, the beatings, the cross, without ever saying a word because it was all part of the plan. The next one is that Jesus' teaching was not in secret. We run into this idea. Jesus tells the Jews that are holding this illegal trial by their own laws. The trial that Jesus went through was illegal. It took place at night, not allowed by their law. There weren't two witnesses brought forward to bring evidence against him, not allowed by their law. They struck him, physically beat him. And Jesus just said, everybody knows what I said. What are you asking me for? There was no secrets, not at some little cult group running around with secret knowledge that only certain people know. Jesus taught publicly. And there was no fault found in Jesus' words. Jesus challenged the Jewish official that struck him in the face. What did I say that wasn't true? And he got no answer. Jesus knew that the Old Testament prophecies applied to him. In 1832, Jesus makes his comment about how he would be fulfilled. And he knew that throughout the Old Testament, it talked about, cursed is the one who's hung on the tree. Talked about, by his stripes we are healed. Talked about the Lamb going before them silent. He knew all that. He knew it applied to him. As a matter of fact, there are over 60 specific prophecies in the Old Testament that find themselves appearing throughout the Old Testament, repeated up to 300 times, and Jesus fulfilled them all. And he knew they were applying to him. And not only that, the next one, he didn't just know that, he claimed it. Jesus said in 1836 and 37 says, my kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest. He said, I'm the king. I'm the Messiah. I claim that prophecy for myself, and it's fulfilled here tonight. The next one is one that you got to take with a little grain of salt. Jesus was innocent. In the passage we looked at 3 times, Pilate says, I find no basis for a charge against him. Yet they crucified him. So the caveat is this. Jesus' crime, so they said, was that he claimed to be God. Blasphemy. So either he was innocent and he was God, or he was a blasphemer. The next one, Jesus was used as a puppet in a social political power struggle. You see this take place in this conversation between the Jews and Pilate, how they're fighting back and forth. The Romans had the government controlled, and the Jews didn't like it. But Pilate was kind of not the highest level in authority. The Caesar was. And if there were unrest in the area of Pilate, as there had been with these Jews, then it would reflect negatively on him. And the Jews used that against him. They knew that he'd get in trouble if they didn't get their way. That's why they got their prisoner released at the time of the Passover. But according to the Roman laws, the Jews couldn't crucify. They couldn't execute anybody. That was out of their control. So they had to go to Pilate. They had to get him to do this. And then look at the exchange between Pilate and the Jews. It's not a friendly exchange. Here's your king. Okay, you Jews, you want all this control? You want a king? Fine, you can have a king and I'll kill him for you. That's what you want. Jesus just stood in the middle of that. It's all part of the pain that he endured for us. It was not just physical pain. It was scorn. It was emotional. He was just dealt like he meant nothing to any of those people. His punishment was particularly brutal and demoralizing. I get the impression when it says that Pilate led Jesus out before them and Pilate had to say to them, "Here is the man." I think it's possible that he had been beaten beyond recognition, and Pilate wanted to make sure the Jews knew that this was the same guy that they'd brought to him. And what's up with Pilate anyway? He finds no basis for a charge against Jesus, yet he beats the tar out of him. The next one, Jesus' execution was carried out in public with the sign placed there. There's no mystery about this. We talked about Scripture prophecy being fulfilled. And the next one, Scripture was fulfilled in the ways Jesus, beyond his control. So Jesus had prayed to the Father, "I've lost none of those that you gave me." And then when he was arrested, he released his disciples and he protected them. Okay, you could say that's maybe in his control. But the Scriptures prophesied that his clothes would be divided by lot, that his legs wouldn't be broken, that he'd be pierced. A man hanging on a cross has no control over that. None. And yet it happened. Which substantiates to me the point about whether or not he was innocent or whether or not he was a blasphemer. He had no control over that, but he fulfilled it anyway. This next one, Jesus believed that his death accomplished something. That's why he said, "It is finished." We're going to talk about that in a minute. The next one seems simple. Jesus died. You can't overlook it. There are a lot of naysayers out there in the world that want to say that Jesus didn't die, that he just swooned, that he just faked his death. Because if he wasn't really dead, then what we celebrate this coming Sunday morning didn't really happen either. But he was dead. This Roman centurion had charge of a 4-person crew in charge of crucifying these guys. He was a battle-toughened, battle-hardened soldier. He had seen dead people. He had killed people. He knew what he was doing. And so when he came to the body of Jesus, he didn't have to question whether or not he needed to break his legs. He knew he was dead. And just to make sure, he stabbed him with that spear, and the blood and the water flowed. Dead. Jesus was dead. The centurion said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." Not is, was. Because he knew he was dead. And finally, the last one that I'll set before you here is just Jesus was buried in traditional Jewish fashion, wrapped in spices, wrapped in strips of linen, another burial cloth put around his face, placed in a tomb. The large stone rolled in front of it. And those are the facts. And facts are informative and interesting. And maybe you learn something through all that. I don't know. But there's a bigger reality here. We can't just let it be just facts here tonight. We can't. Those are the facts. If you've been a part of the Gospel of John series on Sunday mornings at all in the classic service, you know that the whole account of John reads like this court case. And we have all the evidence, and we have the judge, and we have the facts, and we have the testimony. Tonight we have a piece of Jesus' own testimony. He says in John 18:37 to Pilate, who, by the way, Pilate said, "What is truth?" He was staring truth in the face. And the truth said, "You are right in saying that I'm a king. It's for this reason that I was born, and for this I came into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." This goes beyond the facts. He didn't say, what I have to bring to this particular situation on this night is true. He didn't scope it down to one little piece of evidence. He said, I testify to the truth. I am the truth and the way and the life. It's a more universal idea of truth. It's not just about the facts of that situation. That's Jesus' testimony. And the facts that are here before us, if you agree with me that those are facts, call to something deeper. Call to something more that is insistent on us to do something about it. They're not facts that you can just set aside. Either he was innocent and he was God, or he was a blasphemer that deserved to be on the cross.